Come, hold my hand. Let's go on an adventure. Hi, welcome to Momatic Adventures. This is Effy McMorris. I'm going to be your host. And on today's adventure, we are going to talk about something super fucking scary, like something that nobody ever wants to talk about. And it's money. So if you are into super uncomfortable or like weird or not very good advice about money, like this is your spot. So take a seat, buckle up. Here we go. We are going to talk about money. And the thing about money is because nobody wants to talk about it, it gets super uncomfortable really quickly. Also, everybody thinks that their current financial situation is likely going to be their forever financial situation. So it's so easy to get uncomfortable about it. And I'm going to do my best to talk about this in a very personal aspect. I have worked in the financial sector and then have pivoted to working in tech that like connects to the financial sector. At the core of all of these jobs, I have cared about the people, and I think that's what has allowed me to thrive in this industry. But I literally started in finance when I was 18 years old. It was like my second job, maybe my third job ever. That's not true. It's not true. It's my fourth, which is so different than second or third. But like, you know, you have like your childhood experience of money and like your parents' perception of money, and like how they treat it. So I think that was like my first inkling of like what money is. Not even necessarily what money is, but like what my relationship to money would be. Like, obviously you are instilled that typically by your like caregiver or guardian. And then like additionally what they teach you in school, which unfortunately when I was in school was like not a lot. So money was something that was like really uncomfortable to talk about, I think. And there was a lot of like, shh, we don't talk about that when I was younger. And so and honestly now, even though we're older, I think how many jobs have you had where people say like, oh, you don't ask someone what they make, you know, like you meet people in freelance industries, and I feel like so typically my thoughts are like, oh, what are your taxes like? Like, I want to know what you're paying in taxes. Like, what's your take home at the end of the day? Like, how do you navigate that? I have so many questions about that, but like I entered adult, quote unquote, like financial understanding as like, honestly, even now, like I'm not great at it. It's honestly, I think Ryan's expertise, or like despite having years of finance, he is just like better at working money. And I think he learned that from his mom, like intentionally. I think he has seen how to utilize our money to do like what it can for us, as opposed to like, I think before Ryan entered my life, I was very like, oh, if I have money, I can like sort of do whatever I want with it. I just like didn't learn to be responsible about money at all. And like maybe I was given more when I was younger, or I didn't have to necessarily figure that out earlier, but I just like was not good at it. I made bad decisions with money. I still don't make great ones, but I try and be more intentional about where my money goes. And I try and just be a little bit like smarter about how I use my money. So a lot of people see us living this lifestyle and think like, whoa, how do you travel all the time? That must be so expensive. Like, you must be eating out, which is expensive. And realistically, our rent budget is like $1,500, $1,600. We like attempt to have that be our max out of pocket. And there have certainly been times where it has been more than that. And there have certainly been times where it has been like less than that to like literally nothing. So like $1,500-$1,600 though, we try and like cap at. If you are looking on Airbnb for 2 weeks in like New Orleans, which was where we had stayed at one point, you know, we were looking at like $2,000, maybe like $2,500. Like there was absolutely no way we would have been able to afford some of the places that we've been in like a regular setting. But we make up for that in like effort and legwork. We do a lot of research to find places and make connections and talk to people to be able to like afford to live places that are both comfortable, furnished, and have everything essentially that we need. Like, so when we go into a place and our max is 1,600, like that includes water, Wi-Fi, electricity, you know, all of those basic like necessities essentially that you become accustomed to. I can say there was like one place that we stayed, two places I can think of specifically, but one place didn't have Wi-Fi until I think we were on like day 2 or 3 because it was a holiday weekend, and it was absolute torture, like a level of torture. Like in the beginning I was like, okay, this is nice, okay, and then by like hour 15 I was like, okay, like my phone's maxed out, I have to upload content, like come on guys. But other than that, like we typically always have Wi-Fi. We always have a washer dryer unit. So we have that budget, but it includes all of that. So that's a big, like I know people who have mortgages that pay well more than that. And then taxes. I know people who rent who pay a lot more than that. But I also know people who rent who pay a ton less than that. There are so many aspects of it, but I think we have a pretty decent budget for our income, our savings, our lifestyle. And I know that like in an ideal world, we would be hoping to be paying less money than that. But that is how much we sort of budget for our monthly rent. Now, monthly rent can include as well, like, you know, so maybe we're staying at a hotel for 2 weeks and that is going to cost us, or like an Airbnb, and that's going to cost us $600 or $800 or something, whatever the math comes out to. But then we're going to stay with friends for a couple days, or you know, a couple days here, and then with other friends a couple days there, or a week or whatever. And so like we then take those funds and allocate them to our like food and or help budget. So like we will attempt to like pay for dinner when we go out with people, and, you know, cover some of their expenses because they're letting us live in their house or in their guest room, or use their washer dryer for a few days, or like whatever it is. So while like on some aspects, yeah, we are spending money, typically when we're like staying with friends or hanging out with friends, like our rent money then gets allocated to like adding benefit to their wallet, I guess, or like taking away a little bit of the financial burden on their wallet. We also are lucky enough to have friends who have like a business and are making the like lower level of their house into essentially like a rentable furnished unit. And it's where we've been able to stay there and like witness it go from being like a bed in a room with just 4 walls to being like this unbelievably luxurious high-end stay. I mean, I think like if I'm allowed to, by the time this comes out, I will like put the info of their place in the info of the bio here, because like you would be so lucky to stay there, and they're awesome people. So like that aspect of what I think these furnished offerings allow us as well is like sometimes we're in an in-law suite, or we're staying in someone's house that they had when they were in their 20s or something, and now they have a family. And so, you know, this is just a quote unquote Airbnb or a like furnished rental that and like we get to meet them and learn about their families. And like, I think there still very much is that aspect in Airbnb and Verbo, where you get those like cultural and, like immersive experiences at the places you go if you stay with people or if you stay in a place that has multiple people. And I know that the world has changed and things are different. And for a lot of people, that is the ideal situation, is you want to just use your phone to get into a place. You don't want to have to talk to somebody. And like those companies that have shifted for a reason. They've shifted with the money, they've shifted with the desire. But I love getting to stay at places and like meeting the people who live there on the regular and finding out like what things they like and what we can learn from them. And we do try and stay at places like that. And because I think those aren't typically the regular or the ideal situation for a lot of people, or whatever, those prices also just happen to be a little bit less than when you're just traveling alone. And then we spend some money on things for Poppy, but ideally we try and use our efforts in real world experiences. So while, you know, some things we do cost money, like we usually go to a park and hang out. That's free. Or, you know, if we go and we sit at a bar and play cards for 2 hours or talk or whatever. Now we do that at a brewery that's kid friendly or a restaurant that's kid friendly. And like we make those outings into like all day activities. We take the dog out. So like we have a dog. We will sometimes go to dog parks and different areas where we can like let Tilly run free. And so like Poppy will just pick flowers and we'll spend like 2 hours just like sitting in grass and letting her explore and letting Tilly explore and stretching our legs and talking. And we love finding mushrooms. I love finding mushrooms, but it's really fun for me to see them and be like, oh my gosh, Poppy, come, like, let's go look at this magical thing that's growing out of the ground. So we learn through playing. That's like 90% of what we do with Poppy. Maybe not 90%. That's generous. But then we really lean on free activities in the areas like that we're in. So we frequent libraries. I am going to have a future episode on libraries in general, how I find out what's going on in the communities that I'm in, like how I do the research behind it. But those free activities, one, they are community based. So we do not like to take spots that can belong to somebody who is permanently in this community that we're in. That is like a vital like distinction that I want to make. We are not here to take up any space or take away from any other people or children in the community. Like we are just here to learn in any aspect that we can. And if we're lucky enough to experience like public services and offerings that they have, I think that adds to the benefit of ourselves, like what we're sharing and the numbers for those events. I think we need to show up. I mean, I was at a library earlier today and they said like they just, once the kids are like 7 or 8, they stop coming. And so they don't have anyone there for like the teenager events or the tween events and things like that. And I am like, guys, we got to get back out there. Like use the library. You don't have to go there just to read. There are so many other things. Like I am not a huge reader. If you have listened to our episode on stuff, I talk about how I've been carrying around this one fucking book for 6 months and I've maybe read like 100 pages of it. Reading is not my forte, But there are so many programs. We have learned about like planting seeds. We've gone to like different farming events. We have taken ASL classes. We have taken like we went to this one library that had like a jazz homeschooling class that we had taken. It was so fucking cool. Truly, the library programs are phenomenal. One, if you live somewhere and you are not utilizing your library, go use it. Like, I promise you, your kids are going to love it. Book that hour in your day if you can to get out there and like take your kid to the library. It doesn't matter if they have a class. There are children's sections. They have toys. They have crayons. They have just like things to entertain the kids for a long time. And you can go through the books, and like, we never have library cards, so we don't take the books with us. We read them there. We use a program called Beanstack that I absolutely love. I also recommend it. We are doing a thing called 5,000 books before pre-K, I believe. It might be 1,000 books before pre-K. I feel like I'm not going to be able to keep going until I know if that's correct. Yeah. So it's 1,000 books before pre-K. And we have, let's see, we have read 87 books. That is not that many books, but I mean, I guess we've only been logging them for like a year, maybe less than that. So anyway, Beanstack, great app. Go to your local library, see if they have like enrollment for 1,000 books before pre-K, because that will allow your library to have recognition in that app. It sort of links to it. So just like search the internet, go to your local library, take a look, find out. And then Facebook Marketplace and community things are really where it's at. You can kind of search for like events to do in XYZ place that you're at, free events, activities for kids. And then on top of that, I will like literally go to social media and type in like kid activities, and people will sometimes just like have those activities queued up and say like, oh, hey, there's a petting zoo going on here in, Louisiana, and it's $25 cash. Come see these animals. And you're like essentially walking into someone's backyard and seeing their animals. But it's how we're able to explore and like see things and do that on a budget. Now, I will say like Ryan is the person who makes sure that I'm not going crazy. I think we have different takes on how we approach money. Ryan is the type of person who is like, if I'm going to spend $80, I need to know what I'm spending it on, and that thing needs to last me for X amount of time, and like it has to have a certain like value per use. I do not. I have a like, does this give me joy in this moment? Okay, so things that we spend money on. So we will spend money on activities for Poppy. Sometimes if items or things aren't free, like obviously we want to go to a museum, we're going to shell out the like $37 or whatever it costs to get into the fancy children's museum at like peak hours for some reason. But we do really try and like go on Facebook and take a look for free activities happening this weekend, or like literally Google now. There's so much technology, and I will do my little technology love spiel. Again, I love technology. I think we forget that it is such a tool for us to use, and it can give us more access to humanity if we utilize it properly. But I think, unfortunately, we use it to sort of segregate and keep ourselves separated from other people. So this is my attempt at using technology to get closer to people. But yeah, so Facebook, Google, all of that cool stuff. Now you literally can just type in like free things to do in, Austin, Texas, and like things will pop up, and then you can add different like rules to that, or like different words to your search engine. So, you want kid friendly, you want something that's outdoors, you want something that's COVID conscious, you want something that's, animal friendly. Like there are options, and like all you have to do is use the technology to like find those places, to find community. And like the one thing that I am typically very hesitant about is like church-led activities, mostly because I am not a religious person. I have pentacles on a lot of my clothing. Shout out last podcast on the left, because most of my clothing comes from them. But I have a demeanor about me that I feel like typically isn't accepted in church, but that is, I think, like often my own bias, because I never felt that way. So, or didn't feel that way in the past or whatever. I have since gone to different church activities with Poppy, and the vibe is so welcoming, and there is so much inclusion, and I see a new, like, I understand so much more now what the idea behind church is, and it is community. I mean, it literally at its core is like the hope to just bring people together to, like, quote unquote, be the best people they can be, and provide support and love and like la la la. And I think those thoughts and feelings get muddled, and like so often we separate and say like, oh, well, because this person doesn't believe or feel the way that I do, like we don't agree. We don't have the same moral compass. We don't have, like, whatever is about us isn't the same. And so like, I don't want that person in my life, or whatever it may be. And I think those are the people that you need to bring closer more often. Look at that other perspective. So like, my point is, approaching church despite my own fears has been eye-opening for me, even as a non-religious person, to see the idea behind it, which is community. And that is what I'm constantly looking for. So it has been really nice. I will also say, because I love this program, there's a program in Louisiana called We Play, and that is a phenomenal resource. I highly recommend, if you are in New Orleans, like look up We Play. Their hours are a little, there are particular hours there. I have met, I think, some of the most amazing parents there. I like, there's a group of moms that I am friends with from New Orleans that I met at this place, and that I originally met through the library, through going to a random, that's the other thing. Most libraries have like multiple branches. There are activities literally every day. So like, Poppy and I go to library school typically 5 days a week. We can go Monday through Friday, like from 9:30, 10 a.m. we can be at the library until like noon for nap time. So library A+. But yeah, We Play in New Orleans. Check it out if you haven't. Money. So we try and do free activities with Poppy. We try and do free activities for us too. Like we do trivia nights, things like that. So there are definitely like a number of ways to get out and experience the community without having to spend a ton of money. Look into that. Now, on the downside, we do often go to like makers markets, and like, we're at a brewery because they have some type of event. Specifically, I can think of like a moment yesterday. I am always gonna spend money at makers markets. That she was gifted by our very dear and loving friends, Kat and Phil and their family, whom we love so very much. But so they gifted her a bike for Christmas, and that bike gets a sticker everywhere we go. And the bike started with like one tiny sticker, and now is like so full of stickers. So I'm trying to do a lot more sticker purchasing at these maker markets, but that's not always the case. And yesterday was a specific incident where Poppy has learned the word spider. And so I tried to get her like a spider in a jar so that we could have this like little spider to look at. And by the time I had like paid the woman and turned around, she had dropped the spider and like broke the glass. And it certainly wasn't like a good parenting choice in the moment, but I was so excited for her to like see this huge fuzzy spider and like be into it. And I am not even a spider person. I'm also not a snake person. And she is fucking like, she's just like into any animal. We have a big blue macaw, I think is the type of parrot. I don't know. She's beautiful. Her name's Zach, and she is a little scary, and she has this like massive beak and can like bite you pretty hard. And Poppy's like, I want to touch that bird, and we're like, Poppy, like, no, you can't touch that bird. But she does. She loves birds. She loves chickens. She loves all animals, but she likes reptiles too: lizards, snakes, spiders, bugs, worms. And so I don't like all of those things, especially snakes, and not too keen on spiders. And somehow you just like, for your kid, you're like, okay, I guess we're touching a spider now. I guess we're touching this snake, whatever it is. I think we met a wallaby once. It might have been a kangaroo, like a baby kangaroo, but I don't think it was. I think it was a wallaby. And my husband used to live in Australia, so he said it maybe is a wallaby. So I think he knows, but I could be wrong. Anyway, so money. So we try and do free activities. We try not to spend money on things like that. We do treat ourselves to food and to take out. Like when we're in a place, we want to have food that is at that place, especially for Poppy. Ryan wants her to experience so many different cuisines. He is such an adventurous eater, and I know he wants to experience that with her. So they really like love going out and getting like spicy curry and getting sushi and like whatever things that they go out to explore and adventure with their palates. And I think I'm not that adventurous with my palate. And so I definitely admire it, and I like see it and I'm like, oh yeah, that's so cool. So food is definitely something that we spend money on. Obviously groceries. One of the things that is really difficult about constantly moving is like we can't have a pantry. So when you have a pantry, you have those staple items that like allow you to have comfort foods and be able to, whip something up on a whim, or like we just don't have that. So our grocery budget is definitely a bit higher than most people's, because like everywhere we go, and our grocery budget has to adapt, because in different cities and different areas, like prices of things are very different. There are certain quote unquote staples in our refrigerator. Like we land somewhere, we go grocery shopping, there's like a bunch of things that we get, and like most of those things are berries and vegetables, and for some reason those things fluctuate in price so often. Oh, I remember we got tofu in Richmond for like $1.50, and Ryan has been like nonstop talking about it, because that was like a really good price for extra firm tofus, and it was so good. We are tofu people, so that's like a staple. We usually go and get like a bunch of tofu, veggies, a couple different types of berries, beans, some pastas, some things to make sauces, and then like veggie meatballs. We aren't really meat people, and because we can't really stay in a place too long, like meat just goes bad quickly, so it doesn't seem cost conscious. So we don't typically do that. But that's like our big, and then like a frozen pizza or two. And then other than that, like we are going and we're getting takeout, and we eat it, because like I think when we're stationary, when we're at a place, so often because we have a pantry, because we can make whatever we want on a whim, our like takeout goes to the garbage more often than not. If it ends up getting home, then like, and not eaten that night, something else is just going to be made the next day. And so it won't be eaten. Now we aren't really able to do that. Obviously there's always some waste, but, now we're really like, okay, well then for lunch, we're going to have that. And, you know, I'm going to have a quesadilla because we have cheese and 5 tortillas left, you know? So like, it's a lot of being willing and able to just like have whatever's in the house and like make do, because sometimes we just don't have the ingredients. Those are definitely something that comes into value. And then obviously we spend money on like traveling, gas, maintenance, all of that stuff for the car. I mean, we've had this for 5 years, I think. And we paid it off. I think we paid it off within like 2 years of owning it. And Ryan was adamant about that. He was like, we are going to buy this car, but we are going to pay it off quickly. And like, as soon as we could, it was paid off. And then I had student loans that as a wedding gift, my student loans were paid off. And then just recently my private student loans were paid off, as a wedding gift from Ryan's parents. And then my public student loans or whatever, government student loans were forgiven recently. We are officially like 100% debt free, which is very cool. So a way that we make our money, quote unquote, work for us. We never pay like cash for anything but like weed. And that, like, honestly, if there was like a point system, that's not true. There is a point system and I do that. But also like if there was a credit card that we could get like 10 times more points if you spend $1,000 on weed this month, like, yes, please. So we don't really spend cash on anything. You know, we get paid, that goes right into like a savings account because there's no reason for it to not be making money. And then when we pay for things, we pay for them with credit cards, get points essentially for paying for things with credit cards, especially if it's like gas or groceries or any of those things. And then we pay off the credit cards in whole at the end of the month or, whenever they are due. So we don't get interest. So like, that's definitely one way. So our regular money that like Ryan earned or I earned back when I had an income goes right into savings. So we are earning interest on that. I know like our fluid funds, I don't think earn more than like 4 or 5%. But like, that's key. And then obviously like your investments, whatever your investments are, I am not going to give investment strategy advice, but then we pay for everything, like almost everything except for like Maker's Market shit that is broken already. We pay for things in cash. I mean, we pay for things with credit cards so that we get the points on them. And then if we meet max, and then Ryan is like always scoping like for the new card that gets you the most points and this and that. And then we never make big purchases. So like not that we never make big purchases, but we never make big purchases without doing research first. And that research is, can we get coupon codes? Can we add an offer to one of our credit cards that allows us to get more points on this purchase? I buy my hair care stuff from like Ulta. So we make sure that we're getting the most back on our Ulta purchase. So things like that, just like making sure that, and for some people, they're like, it's not worth the time. It is not worth the time for me to do that. What's it worth? 80 cents? What am I going to get? Like, okay, so maybe it isn't worth the time. It feels worth it for us. So that's something that we make sure we do, and it takes foresight and it takes intention. But then I also I'm a Target gal. I have worked there in the past. I am a fan through and through. They got me. I'm in for life. I'm a lifer probably. And our Target credit card, I maybe use 10% of our limit. They continuously like up our limit and we just don't use it. It's used for like emergency groceries where they can shop before I get there, which is helpful with Poppy. I'm also Diet Coke gal. So, and honestly, Diet Coke, if you want to sponsor me, like, hey, Diet Coke, what's up? I'm your girl. But really, like, I'm a Diet Coke girl, so Target gets me the best deal on my Diet Coke. I'm paying like maybe 5 cents a fluid ounce. Okay. And if you know Diet Coke math, that's very good. But so Target gets those purchases. So the Target card, I think, is probably the one that I'm most loosey-goosey on. I will like just buy clothes because nothing fits this week and I need a moo to throw on. But they also are so forgiving with their return policy. Poppy got shoes that she grew out of in like, I want to say a month, maybe not even a month. And like, they were like, yeah, sure, we'll take them back. And in the grand scheme of things, I am fully aware that like those shoes probably end up in a landfill and it's bad for the environment as a whole. But I can't carry that burden. That's not my burden to carry. I understand those implications and I try to make conscious decisions, but convenience and my wallet, I think, is more important at the end of the day than the wallet of some major corporation. And I think that major corporations like Diet Coke, probably Coca-Cola, could probably do better, and probably Target. Honestly, every corporation could probably do better. I don't think they need to continuously make more money. I think you guys can like just make a certain amount of money and be like, okay, this is how much money we make. Each quarter, you don't have to make more money. Like, why? Stop trying to do that. Maybe. But also, maybe not. I don't know. I don't function that way. My goal is not to make more money usually ever. It's to like impact more people and help more people and like love more people. I am a people-based person. I think at the end of the day, I am not going to be sitting here looking at my wallet going, damn, I should not have done that. I only have blah, blah, blah dollars left in my pocket. I'm going to be looking at pictures of experiences that I've had and like remembering moments with people and sharing love. And I hope and think that other people will do that as well. And so money is important. Money is something that fuels our economy and our world and our livelihood more often than not. I am privileged to have had the help financially to get to a place where Ryan, myself, and Poppy are comfortable and able to live the life that works for us. But I have also put in years and years and years of work, hard work, to make the money I made prior to becoming a parent. I know that like re-entering the workforce, what I bring of value, I have no contention on that. I know where I am in a career aspect and I've reached those goals. Like now my goal is to intentionally help Poppy reach her goals and find new ways to like connect with people, which is, I guess, also why I'm doing this. Fuck yeah. Like, hello, this podcast is my call to the world to say like, hey, let's talk, let's get to know each other and let's have uncomfortable conversations and let's help the generations that we're affecting. Money's uncomfortable. We do spend it where it matters. It matters. Roof above our head. We spend money there. It matters in our food, what we intake, we spend money there. It matters on experiences and effort to have those experiences. So we definitely spend money there. Obviously on travel and growth. So we spend money there and for fun, like for sure. We spend money on things that that bring happiness to our lives, but we're intentional about it. And I think that that's how we're able to quote unquote afford to live this life and live this lifestyle that we love. And then obviously we stay with friends and family. Like we have friends and family all over. And so it's so important for us to be able to see them and spend time with them and sleep on a couch if it means that one, we're not paying for it, and two, like that it's with people we want in our lives and that we can make that effort for. And that's not always the case. I know right now, in this very moment, I have a desire to hop in the car and go be close to the people I love because big things are happening, and it's hard to be happy and joyous for those moments that you're not actively present for. But we learn and we adapt and we continue to find ways to connect, even though distance is a barrier. So that's my take on money. That's my family's plans and thoughts on money. I appreciate you guys listening. I hope you enjoyed yourself and you had fun on this adventure. Listening to today's episode. If you enjoyed what you heard, please click that follow button. And if you have the time to give us a review, I would so appreciate it. If you know anybody who's interested in travel, parenthood, and chaos, tell them about this show. The more people, the better. And if you'd like to learn more about us, please head to momaticadventures.com for access to all our information. And I can't wait for next week. Bye.